Father, pardon me because I must tell you this horrible fact. On these lukewarm religious ladies who sin from Monday to Saturday out here in the streets and wish to be holier than thou on Sundays in the church of the Lord, brothers and sisters gathered around will bring down divine truth. And heaven, please, oh, gentlemen, in all seriousness, let's talk about the so-called neighbors to religious women. But I have never studied any other religions. I'll thus limit my discussion to what I know about Christian women. What I'll discuss, though, is universal and relevant to women of all faiths. Therefore, don't stress yourself. If there's one thing I want you guys to understand, it's that just because a woman attends church or was raised in a religious environment, it doesn't necessarily make her a nice person. I am aware that some of you may find it difficult to believe this. However, each person's decision to join a religion is unique. And in the majority of cases, they don't always live up to their ideals or practice what they preach. I've seen enough hypocrisy to tell you straight out that women attending church no longer means anything. The same holds true for all other religions. That used to be different when religion was the main force in society, and there was still a strong family structure that produced honorable children. I concur that a woman reared in the church is more likely to have been taught good values, to have a strong desire to follow her religion's teachings, and to continue to be the kind of woman who men would want to be the mother of their children. The ladies who do attend church, though, don't give a damn about adhering to their religion's principles since things have gone horribly wrong. They would choose to selectively quote from the Bible in order to rationalize their behavior and spread lies, such as, "Only God can judge me," in order to escape responsibility for being a 304. What we currently have is that. And because most churches cater to women and the majority of churchgoers are women, the leaders have never attempted to discipline them or hold them responsible because doing so would be expensive. As a result, their poor behavior remains unchallenged. As a result, I warn you to exercise caution when assuming that a lady in your church is a decent woman, because the majority of women these days are following Jezebel's teachings and living in her spirit. You guys don't want to accept the truth, I know that. Many devout women, however, are of the world and don't adhere to the teachings of their faith in any way. Before going further, although I'm not a Christian, I don't criticize their faith. I'm merely throwing some light on the religious women who, although being expected to be good role models, are not. I am a pagan and a sinner, and I will most likely burn in hell. Now that has been spoken, it's time to put the heat on these repackaged virgins who pass themselves off as good women. When I beat up the Christian girl last year at this time, you would never in a million years assume that she was a top freak if you saw her. However, she had Dan Wet brothers in her vise-like grip. You would all be sick if you knew what I did to that body and what I genuinely wanted to do to it. However, as I've stated in other films, I'm a horrible boy who is on the dark side. Therefore, you can't expect your boy to simply be doing marriage missions like old *X. No way. The point I was making, however, was that if you hadn't known this girl, aside from judging her based on the mask she was wearing as a devout Christian girl, you would not have known that the gents was roaring up in her sweet, sugary walls to the point where I eventually succeeded in getting her pregnant. Yes, I acted carelessly. I'm aware that demonstrates to you how easy you can be duped if you only consider a person's external appearance. And the qualification was that I wasn't even dating her. And I could still actually pull out her guts until she burst. She appeared to be a good girl, as I've mentioned. She behaved like a decent girl, dressed modestly in public, and held leadership roles in the church and other organizations. I just overheard her use one foul word. I was laying that nice pipe at the time. If you agree with what I'm saying, click the like button. Since she was presenting herself as a good Christian girl when she was wearing her mask, I know that the majority of you have already married her. You would never have known she was leading a double life, which I got to experience. And I clearly recall her telling me she was content. She wouldn't have to always pretend to be a good girl. She could be herself around me. That's because, to be really honest, I never cared about her. These women are always 3 or 4s in my opinion. So that's how it happened that I had a fantastic encounter with this girl before she left me for another man. I no longer criticize the ladies I have affairs with, so I won't be speaking poorly of her. I will caution you against assuming a religious woman is a good woman, though. You should never ever find yourself thinking that because everyone has a past. It's up to you to ascertain what that history is. However, just because a woman was raised in the church as a virgin does not guarantee that she will make a wonderful wife for you. She can harbor a latent hatred for the faith, feeling that it restricts her freedom and prevents her from being who she truly is. And if you assumed she was always good, you would never find out. I've known girls who were raised in the church and secretly detested the fact that they were unable to engage in open sex outside of the home. And as soon as they set foot on the college campus, chaos ensued. Everybody who wanted to change their internal organs was being given peace lead, as if it were a charitable event. Trains were being driven by men. Men were coming and going from their dorm rooms while puffing on cannabis. Believe me when I say that consuming the alcohol was a mess. And at church, these females appeared to be filled with the Holy Spirit. However, once the church was built, they returned to the streets along with the other 3 or 4 groups. So always keep in mind to never presume that a religious lady is a decent woman unless her deeds over the course of your relationship with her demonstrate that she is. The second thing you need to know is that even if some of these ladies still retain their hymens, it doesn't imply that guys aren't ramming them. A pious woman who was discussing her story in an article I read a few years back remarked that while she couldn't get her wet vise grip beat up, she found other methods to please the Lord. This woman claimed that if her partner pushed in the tip and put the banana up the tailpipe, she would suckle off him. Coach Greg Adams deserves praise for that one. But in essence, she did everything but cause her to be violently assaulted. She then returned to her segs engaged in oral sex, made her partners stimulate her by placing the tip in her wet vice grip. Yes, gentlemen, some of these devout women discovered strategies to avoid losing their hymen. If you had run into her, you would not have known unless you had thought that she belonged on the streets or she had told you. This demonstrates how brutal the streets are, and you must realize that no one nowadays is pure and innocent. It is very likely that those women have dabbled in evil, or that they sincerely desire to do so and are awaiting an opportunity to do so in freedom. In the church, some of these women who aren't allowed to tamper with males wind up having affairs with other XX. I won't be going there, you say. However, I promise to turn up the heat, because of you two, I won't get too involved. Nuns are a fantastic example of this because we already know what occurs. However, let's stop there. So heed my advice, 1 to 5 year span is unavoidable. You must not take these folks seriously as a result. These women are frequently single mothers and terrible victims. Women that wreck their life and huge retired 304s. Women who have served time in prison, those who have used drugs or other substances in the past, and those who are buried with personal and school loan debt. The list includes women who have recently divorced, STD-infested 304s, Rainbow Coalition members, former Skittles members, and many more. Join us, gentlemen. I'm telling you the truth about what's happening. How many warning signs were there in that for the few remaining males in the church? Because all these ladies want is a man to mend their broken lives and save them from themselves. I'm warning you guys to stay far away from them. Men, that is the reality. If you are foolish enough to ignore her background, click the video that is now displayed on the screen. To help us, please watch this video. Please subscribe and send this video to anybody you think will benefit from it the most.